Okay. Kara Boyle. Matt Stinchcom. Matt Mercier and Jolene are here. Joshua Cohen. Joshua just joined us. Bill Mancini. Tara.
Tara joined.
What are you doing? What are you doing here?
Still hanging in there.
Okay.
She's in the delivery room.
Yes.
I know, right?
Christina and Audrey. I don't see either of them have signed in yet.
All right. Is that it, Don?
Yep. As I see other people sign in, I'll check them off. So
Okay. Great. Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining. September, we're the month of the Climate Carnival. So very exciting. On the tail end of the county fair. So a lot of time at the fairgrounds this month. We have a pretty short meeting, I think. So we'll probably get through it, I'm guessing, less than an hour. And we've got a lot of work to do at the Climate Carnival. So we'll have plenty of time to see each other there later this month. Just on the minutes, any comments or corrections on the minutes from last month? We should adopt them. So if we have a motion and a second, please.
I so move.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Anyone second?
I'll second.
Great. I don't know who that was, but thank
Tara.
you.
Tara.
Thanks, Tara. Great. Any opposed, please make it known. Great. Okay, minutes adopted. So let's start with the Climate Carnival. Jolene, you want to start us off?
Sure. So next Saturday is the big day. We're gearing up tomorrow. Don and I will be doing a final walkthrough with Eric, the fairground manager, just to make sure when we can get in. The only sticking point we have right now is Tistria's Free Store. Last year we had the capability of going Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for a few hours in the morning to collect the clothing and gently used items. We just have to clarify that with Eric. We do have a need for racks. The last time the clothing racks were on loan by an individual who will not be able to do it this year. So if anybody has some, old clothing racks that we could use for that day, please reach out to either myself or Don. But the bands are booked. How many vendors do we have now, Don? Do we have?
I have a total of 50. There are some that are not responding to emails. They haven't sent in their certificates of insurance yet. But I have 50 on my list, so it's probably between 45 and 50.
Okay.
Yep.
How many do we have last time?
I think 43 actual vendors.
Wow.
Great. 43. So a little bump. Yeah.
How many bands and food trucks do we have?
Four food trucks this year as opposed to two last time.
Great.
Bands about the same. I think we have two different sessions of two different groups that are gonna
Yep.
play. Yep.
All right. That's fantastic. And I know we're out of signs, which is a good sign.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's great. They're out and about. I've been seeing them in different places. Whoever's been putting them out in Hillsdale, great representation there, right on the main drag. So that's good work.
I have to say something about the signs. They're very well done because the contrast shows up really well when you're driving. It's a good thing to think about in future stuff because it just pops and you see it.
Okay. Thanks.
So free store, we need racks. Do we need hangers as well? Any other
Racks,
materials?
hangers, and volunteers. So once we have our meeting tomorrow, we're just going to kind of put out an email blast when we have some idea of what times. If we have some volunteers, I know that Will has graciously volunteered to help out. And Jennifer has offered to do the food scrap for that day. But we will definitely send out an email blast to everyone, kind of showing you what times and areas that we need assistance in. And, it's going to be a crazy couple days, but we'll get it all together.
So, did you may have just said this, Jolene, but specific times for volunteers?
We're
that you
going to,
need?
yeah, we'll email that out when we have a better idea tomorrow.
Okay, great. So we'll hear back soon on that. Anything else done on the carnival?
Yeah, just, I think day of the event, it will be helping guide people the vendors into the locations and showing them their spot. Then there's going to be helping parking. Just the initial hour or two of parking is helpful. Manning having someone sit at the food scrap bins and recycling bins to make sure that people aren't throwing trash in them. Those are a couple things they could help with. I will note CEDC has purchased some newspaper ads in both Register Star and the Columbia paper. And also some way to estimate visitor attendance. That's a question we got after last year. All the vendors want to know how many people actually showed up. I'm not exactly sure how we can handle that, but if we had somebody trying to keep track of how many visitors are actually coming through the gates, that might help, even if it's an estimate. So. But yeah, I remember this from 2 years ago. This is the 2 weeks beforehand are pretty frantic, just trying to get the vendors to send in their insurance certificates. I know there are a couple of folks on here that I've been nagging many times. But it's getting those insurance certificates in and filled out properly is sometimes takes a little work. Yep.
Yeah, I don't remember how we did it last time at the entrance because I was at our booth and I was already in. Did people just walk in, or did we have anything there?
We had two of my solid waste staff that were kind of just, showing people around where they were going, first for the vendors and then just greeting people when they came in. I think at one point they were trying to keep a head count, but too many people filtered in at once. So I can talk to Wendy and see if any of her administrative staff might be available that day. I'll be talking to her later this afternoon. So on some other issues, highway and solid waste are going to be helping us out with. So I'll see if her staff might be willing to help out.
It's really great how much I remember last time too, how much the county staff really stepped up, and departments should be noted, and we should thank everyone that participates. Maybe we can do that at the next meeting and then send that off to the Board of Supervisors just to kind of publicly acknowledge people and our appreciation. So is there any information we have at the anywhere, like a map of vendors or any of that? I don't want to create more work, but if we have information that would fit at a booth at the entrance, maybe it makes sense to also, and have a sign up for names for the mailing list.
Yeah.
And then maybe it makes sense to give tickets out and collect tickets just so we know how many tickets we've given out. I mean, I don't know if that seems like a lot of work potentially, because then everyone needs a ticket, but we would get a count.
Yeah, the map definitely will have that.
Yeah.
We had that last time. I don't have it complete yet. I want to wait till after our visit Friday just to verify a few things. But we will have a map that lays everyone out and shows everyone where their spot is. And I'm going to send that out to all the vendors too, with like a little day of event list. Have to be here by a certain time, have to be set up and vehicles out by 11 o'clock and the whole timeline
Yep.
of when things are happening, which gate to enter, et cetera.
Okay. Great. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
All right, we're moving along. There's not much to say about the climate cap, other than, as everyone knows, or folks who weren't here last month, we did submit the grant application. Don, thank you again. And we will hear probably in the beginning of next year, calendar year. January is usually when they announce it, I think. We did convene. We didn't convene. We agreed to convene a land use subcommittee, and we have a list of folks who have graciously volunteered to do that. And the goal there is to start reviewing the different methodologies for measuring greenhouse gases in relation to land use. And we have a folder in our shared drive which has a calculator that is the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, which is a project of the World Resources Institute and the Sustainable Business Council. And I think it's the most widely used measurement tools for a variety of sectors that adopted by corporations, by large corporations, and by some countries and a lot of municipalities throughout the world. So it's a very reputable kind of, and it has a calculator with lots of different measurement tools. So we're going to look through that in the coming months and just familiarize ourselves with what we think might be applicable. It might be achievable for us to consider adding a more robust analysis to the inventory, the greenhouse gas inventory that is being done. And we should convene. It's obviously busy end of summer. We haven't been able to meet yet, but I'd like to get a call, a Zoom on the calendar for either the end of September or beginning of October, ideally before our next meeting. So I'll send in a doodle out to the group. And if anyone else wants to join, just let me know and I'll include you. Matthew.
Just a question. I'm on the committee and I'm looking forward to it. Is it possible to get non-task force members to attend the meeting? I know Barbara Huey was very interested in the subject
Yeah,
matter.
absolutely.
She'd be great. So yeah,
she would be great. Yeah, so I will include Barbara.
Yeah.
In the email, and if there's anyone else that we think has a particular interest or ideally even some knowledge of this, that would be great. Just let me know.
That'd be great because Barbara would bring a lot of knowledge to that subject. So
totally, that's great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's nothing else really to report on that. I did have a question for Tara. Do you have any update on the greenhouse gas inventory? Don, you may be aware of this too. You're involved in that, but
yeah, nothing particularly at the moment. It's in the works. We're actually in the process of actually pretty much completed developing kind of a statewide process with the other regions in the state for how we approach this, because we want to get a lot of data from state agencies and things like that. So we're trying to make this a cohesive operation that can be replicated again in the future. But our consultant, Jim Yanger, Climate Action Associates, is diving into this right now. So that's the best update I have for you, but we'll certainly keep you posted, and Haley will keep you posted for sure.
Thank you. And Don, any update on the countywide government greenhouse gas inventory? I know, let me just preface the question with you haven't had any time. You've had a negative amount of time with the grant, the Climate Carnival, and the next topic, the NYSERDA grants. So it's not a question that's meant to pester you. It's just really a question as to, how that's going. You're muted, Don. Can't hear you, Don.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was muted. Yeah, after September 14th, I'm diving right back into that. I did make some good progress on it before the CAP grant and the Climate Carnival, came to the front. But yeah,
that's great. Thank you. So let's shift gears. Well, I don't think there's anything else on the cap. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to put it in the chat. Okay, not hearing any. NYSERDA CEC grants. This is moving and has moved and is happening and has happened. So Don, tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so again, forget where I left off last month, but the county now owns four electric vehicles, four Toyota BZ4Xs. They've all been distributed. They're all on the road and being used. We have 16 EV charging stations that have been installed. We're waiting. The last thing is just waiting for National Grid to come and plug the meter in. They have to hook the wire up to on the power pole and plug the meter in, and they'll be functional. And that's could be today, could be next week sometime, but that's the last step for that. The county courthouse heat pump contract has been signed by the county. That's back in NYSERDA's hands, and as soon as they sign it, then I believe the county will be good to go with starting that project. So we're talking about possible uses for the next $412,500 grant, which we will, once we reach what's called 4-star designation. The last step to qualify for that is to get those at least 2 of those EV charging stations up and running. And once that happens, we will reach the 4-star level and we'll qualify for that $412,500 grant. We intend to spend that on solar panels at the solid waste station, buying one more electric vehicle for someone, and the reason for doing that is that will give us another set of points that we can use in the future. And we're looking at 401 State Street, this building, which was built back in the 1930s sometime. If anybody is familiar with 401 State Street, been in here and has been in here in the winter time when the wind is blowing through the windows, we need some energy upgrades here at the building. So that will mean, doing a clean energy audit to find out, the most cost-effective uses for that grants, and doing building envelope upgrades, doors, windows, possibly solar panels on the roof, lighting upgrades, because we're still using old fluorescent lights here in this building, and that's what we would like to spend the bulk of that $412,500 grant on. After that, and I haven't brought this up before, but I'm just going to mention it. One of the reasons for purchasing that 6th vehicle will give us points under the CEC program, and if we complete our Clean Fleets inventory, which it's nearly done. That's just a matter of getting the total mileage for a few of the vehicles that the county owns. It's possible, and it's possible that we may reach 5-star designation under CEC, which would open up possibly, and this really depends on how long the money lasts in the CEC program, but we could be looking at another $450,000 grant through that program after this.
Wow. That's really great.
It's really, I've gone through the timing and how long it takes to get these things approved and everything. So it looks like it really wouldn't be until February of 2025 probably be when everything was signed and stamped and approved by both the county and NYSERDA. But I don't know. The big question is the money still going to be there in the program when we reach that point? I don't know.
Jennifer.
So, Don, are you implying that on the things on your list there on the agenda, it's kind of either or, like we couldn't do the audit? I guess the first question is, does the energy audit and those updates to the building envelope, does that not contribute toward points to get that the 5 stars that you're talking about, but buying another EV vehicle would.
That's correct. Yes. Yeah.
That's kind of a bummer, isn't it? It's the less kind of sexy option, but it seems so
Yeah.
kind of fundamental.
That's
Like,
the way
let's
that's the
at least
way,
not
yeah, that's the
wasting
way they have
energy
the points
before
are.
we.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that's too bad.
And the solar panel, well, we are talking about solar panels on the solid waste station, which would be funded, but it wouldn't contribute points because we've already got tier 3. We already have so many solar panels around the county that adding more is not going to get us more points in the program. So, but it's, buying the one car and doing the inventory, Clean Fleet's inventory. Those are fairly easy things to do, but it's a question of, the funding. I talked to Jeff Charles, and I think Hallie Balkanoff was on the call too, and just trying to see if they thought it was really even worth putting in the effort to do. And they said, yes, keep trying. But they can't say whether or not the funding is going to be there for it in the end. So.
Well, Don, I mean, thank you. Great work. A lot of time has gone into administering all of that. It's time and energy that no one else really sees, and Don does it. And it's really tremendous. It's made a huge impact. I would love to, at some point, calculate the impact of all of these actions, and whether it's a cost benefit, whether it's a savings kind of measurement. We can certainly calculate the impact of the solar. That's easy. The EVs. And at some point, we could calculate the heat pump impact at the courthouse and all these other energy upgrades, Joey, looking at energy bills before and after. The question, that leads to a question, which is, how do these savings impact or feed into the CAP process, inventory process? So the inventory, I don't know government operations, but the data, how far back, when is the baseline, when are the baselines set for those inventories? Meaning, like, what years of data are we using for the government operations?
As I'm going through the county's invoices, I think I'm going back to 2022.
Okay.
Is the first year. And yeah.
So when we do our CAP, I don't know how it's going to work. I haven't done a CAP before, and I don't know how we're going to write this. We're going to have a consultant help us. But when we do this, we're going to set a series of targets in sectors or options and targets. And we're going to assess on some level of detail what impact that has in getting us toward our broader mitigation goals. These are tangible projects that have already happened at that time, but are not reflected. Some of them are not reflected in the baseline data of where we're saying we're currently at versus where we want to be in the future, based on what actions we take under the CAP in 10 years or 5 years. And so it'll be an interesting, at the very least, great examples, which can be very specific, real, and quantifiable, which say, well, these are things, these are examples, they've already been implemented, and they've saved us this many metric tons of carbon. So that'll be great. And it's exciting that we have these examples. It's really helpful to say, about this is how we save money. This is why this makes sense. I mean, in terms of just talking to the public and other stakeholders around about why we do this, this is exactly why we're doing it. And I think this is the best selling point, which is we're saving money, we're doing the right thing, we're making our environment healthier, obviously, and we're benefiting the climate. And we'll have these tangible examples thanks to Don and all the work that CDRPC has helped out with. So I think the timing is great, and hopefully we can continue doing a lot more of these in the future. Don.
Yeah. Where that fits into the CAP is, we're doing the inventory, so we'll know exactly how much energy each building uses going back to at least 2022, and we're doing the benchmarking for those buildings. It gets uploaded to the portal there that tracks how much energy we're using. And I haven't looked at it yet, but when it's complete, we should be able to see, when the solar panels went live on the DSS building, how much energy was, what's the difference in the energy cost and usage at that building. When we put the solar panels on the DPW building, which is a huge array, where we should see a big dip in electric usage there. Doing the fleet inventory, even though we'll only have 5 or 6 cars, as we build out, we could possibly see how much gasoline we're saving and how much money we're saving by using battery electric. That's the whole purpose of doing these inventories.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great. And one more thought is Supervisor Knott had been pioneering some energy efficiency work in some of the buildings previously and some audits before all of this started, obviously because it's smart to do it. Sorry about the pooch. And that'll be interesting too to see how that plays in. I think some of these predate 2022 though, some of those actions, so they'll have already been built in. But we'll hopefully be able to use some comparative data back to 2010 and see where we're at. I mean, the general trend is, nationally, is that we and probably locally, I'm guessing, is that we have a lot more renewables on the grid and off the grid, but we're using more energy. So, I mean, we're more, and we're getting more GDP. We're more productive with the energy we use, but we're still using more energy. So that's part of the challenge. All right. Anything else on this? Great work, Don. Christina, anything on?
Not a whole lot to update. We're still here. We're still happy to help you guys do any events on cleaning and cooling if anybody is still looking for that. I think you guys are all like pretty good. The first of the IRA benefits have rolled out in the Empower Plus program. So there is more money in that program than there was probably the last time I talked to you guys. So that's for that under 80% of area median income folks. So if anybody wants to help spread the word, great. And then we're looking at early 2025, the rest of the IRA should roll out for the 80 to 150% AMI market rate group.
Great. Any questions? Thank you, Christina. I told you this will be a fast meeting. We're moving through. We have a lot to do in a couple of weeks, so we're saving our energy up, or actually a week and a half. Audrey, any update on CCE?
Hi. I don't have a lot to update as far as the CARP goes. We're just still waiting to hear back on some of the grants we applied for through the stewardship funding from the Hudson River Estuary Program to do an education engagement climate resilience partnership. So this is to do things like the culverts, road stream crossing management plans, or assessments. The education and engagement emergency preparedness website, on a municipality's website, social media content. We can also do climate smart communities assessments. So we take a look at kind of where your municipality stands, what actions you've taken, what potential actions are you in. So if there are municipalities that weren't involved and they're interested, reach out to me and let me know. We'll probably be submitting these proposals by November. Like I said, just get in touch with me if you're interested. There's also potentially riparian buffer assessments, and if you have interest and want kind of a comprehensive list, you can also just
some of our beaver issues without trapping them out. And that is alive and well again. I'm happy to say we are in the process of applying for permits. So that's pretty cool. We are going to have another Taconic Talks on 10/13 with Tim Kennel. I'm going to say in September, maybe October. And we've also been working on joining forces with some of the adjacent communities to make our various small groups more effective. We've been talking to Kara over in Copake, and a couple of other folks have expressed some interest. So that might shape up into something, I hope, in the near future. That's what I got.
That's a lot. That's great. When is the Taconic Talk with Tim?
That'll be on October 13th, which is a Sunday. And we'll have the talk like we do at the Taconic Firehouse. Again, the subject matter is as of yet undetermined. And then we are going to go and do a small scale planting over at Lake Taconic State Park, like we did earlier this year, but not on such a grand scale. Grand is maybe an overstatement, but it'll be smaller.
And what can you tell us briefly about the pollinator garden and what you're planting?
Well, what we did earlier this year, we joined forces with management over at Lake Taconic State Park. Originally, it was, you don't need the whole backstory. We ended up settling on putting a pollinator garden in, and it was really, really wet. It was really difficult. So it was kind of a big, muddy mess when we planted. And then, the summer wasn't really great. It was really hot for a long time. Then it was really wet. There's not great drainage in that area. So it doesn't look as lovely as we'd like it to look, but everything is by and large still alive. And there are some areas that remain unplanted. So we're going to get some more plants. We're going to fill in those areas, and we're going to show it a little bit of love. And hopefully by next year, it'll look similar to our garden behind Taconic Town Hall, which is an amazing, amazing garden. And the park was interested in doing this because they have a mandate to reduce the amount of area that they mow. So, we were able to take a big chunk of their lawn out of lawn world and move it into pollinator world. So that was kind of cool. So it was a win-win all around, and we had a lot of fun.
That's great. And where are you getting your plants? And what kind of?
We got the last bunch by and large from Baines. We got some from Ozone, and we are going to, I'm just waiting for Tim to get back on his feet again, but we are going to, in the next couple of weeks, go to those two places again to round up the balance of the plants that we need. And we are funding this with one of the grant money that we got from one of our Climate Smart initiatives. So that's very cool. Because we're working in a state park, there are very strict guidelines on what you can and cannot plant. They have to be native species. They can't be cultivars. There's all kinds of things that we learned a lot in that process. Coneflowers, no coneflowers.
Even native ones.
Well, there was one in the end that we were allowed to use, but we couldn't get our hands on it. So, but anyway, we had a great selection of plants. Once this thing takes off, it's going to be really beautiful.
Yeah, keeping them alive in the first year.
Yeah,
is the key. They usually thrive in year 2 and 3, as you know. So that's awesome. Great. Thank you. That's exciting. And great that they have a mandate at the state parks to mow less. That's good. Very progressive. Deborah, I saw you popped up there.
I just wanted to let Jolene and Don know I just reached out to PS21 and they have racks and hangers. So I can put you in touch with Kelly Macker there, and we could make arrangements to do whatever you need to do for the free store.
Awesome. Thank you.
Wow. Making things happen. Boom. Kara.
Hey, so you heard the fun update about Copake joining forces with Taconic on some things. So that's been really fun. The other thing that we recently did, and I don't know if anybody else heard about this, but the Columbia County Soil and Water District reached out somehow. I'm not exactly sure how Copake found out about it, but they're seeing, it's not quite a grant yet, but they want to know if we would be interested, and of course we were, in having them provide us with hardwood trees and plant them for us on our municipal lots. So, or town-owned lots. So we went out and did a plan for what's in right by Copake's Town Hall, and then our park that's across the street, across the street. So we're hoping, and we tried to figure out, and we met with the building supervisor just to kind of figure out where would be the best spot, because our park has all these different playing fields, and they do use some of the grass space for parking at times when we have events. So we have a proposal. We're going to submit it. I forget exactly when. It's not submitted yet, but I wanted to know, did anybody else get this outreach from County Soil and Water? So David, I thought you'd be happy because it'd be planting trees.
I'm very happy.
So, so keep your fingers crossed. We don't know if we'll get it. We don't know. It sounds very sort of nebulous about what they want to do, but we're going to submit a whole plan, and we've mapped it out, and we have little points where we think of the best spots for, and mostly it's for shade, and also obviously the other things, because we can put them around the buildings to provide more shade, and also for people as they walk too. But they are going to be hardwoods, and they're going to be mature trees.
Great. Very exciting. Thank you, Kara. Joshua.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I just want to give a quick update and ask if people have experience with this. The Hudson CAC has received some funding to purchase LED light bulbs, and we're trying to think through ways to distribute those. So if folks have experience with that, I'd love to hear about it. So please reach out. We also planted a pollinator garden to the entrance to the cemetery in Hudson recently, which seems to be doing pretty well. And we are doing some street tree plantings around the city of Hudson. Residents can request some, but we also did a planting along Harry Howard Boulevard in Hudson, sort of a pathway from the schools into town to try to create some more tree canopy and wind barrier. So just wanted to give that quick update.
Nice.
Excellent. Great. Matthew.
Hi, all. Sorry about my camera again. It's not working. But just wanted to give Germantown here. We just conducted an energy audit with the help of a grant from Partners for Climate Action of three of our main buildings. So that went fairly well. That as Jennifer mentioned, like doing an energy audit is unsexy, but it's definitely necessary. The trick is, of course, getting your municipality to take the advice that the energy audit provides. So that, of course, will be the challenge. And then we've got a very large grant to get a solar array on our salt shed. That is fantastic, but things are moving slowly on that score. I think the town is trying to figure out elective pay and all that, but that's what we're doing here in Germantown. So it's all good.
I just want to add to that for Germantown, if it's okay. Anyone who is doing energy audits on their municipal buildings, our initial proposal had no building envelope upgrades, and we really had to advocate for ourselves to get that as part of it. It's not required in the FlexTech program. It can be mechanical only, and that's what the engineering firms who do them are more comfortable with, it seems. So just make sure that you are advocating to have building envelopes included in those studies if anyone else is undertaking them.
And make sure you advocate for putting it through a CAD system, because we did get some drawings that seemed to be done by hand. And that is not, as Christina and I were shocked, it's not a good selling point when you get hand-drawn sketches. So I'm not sure why we have to advocate for that, but you just make that clear.
Sounds quaint. So quick question, John, I see your hand. I'm wondering if there's a gap or there might be a gap in our greenhouse gas inventory where between the government operations and the community. Just struck me, Matthew, with your update on the salt shed. How are we capturing municipal actions or municipal emissions that are not county, that are maybe not captured in the community? And also it's a question of how the community inventory, which is more of a macro, I think, and the government operations, which is part of our county emissions, but will be much more detailed, I'm thinking, because we're looking at like actual energy usage in these buildings. So it's like an open question, something we can talk about, maybe not now, but we will certainly have to talk as we become more conversant. I don't know if anyone here has the experience to address that, but it's a question as to how we actually use the inventories and what's captured and what's not. And if we have to fill gaps, do we rely on town government operations inventories to fill those gaps, and how many towns have them, how many don't, and what does that mean? Or is it somehow captured in the macro data of the community emissions? But these are just like, it's in the weeds, but it's just, I just want to throw it out there, not to answer it, because I don't know if anyone can, maybe Jennifer can, but it's just part of what we'll be grappling with, I think. Jennifer.
I can't answer it, but it sounds like it would be a question that is definitely a known thing. Tara, I would imagine Tara knows, and I just last moment to get an answer from her. But but I could also contact our friend at ICLEI, I'm sure, in an email, and I'm sure he would be able to tell us, because I'm sure there's a standard practice for how you capture town government in a county government inventory. Yeah.
And also,
that's a really good point. Yeah, and it really is going to be like, we're going to have the data from the Utility Energy Registry, which is going to be the most recent data from basically the grid, to see like all of this information. We're going to do the most recent year, which in this case will be 2024. So it should be capturing all of this data, and if there are specific examples that we want to check up on to see, if they're included in this, we can do that as well. But yeah, that's a really good point, and something we to just keep an eye on, because I think you could probably make some bigger case studies for how governments are moving the needle in the community climate action plan.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right. Well, thank you. John.
Yeah, on the energy audit, we got ours back for our town garage recently, and Partners in Climate Action had insisted that we do a envelope study. And when we got it back, we had thought that the envelope wasn't in too bad shape, because we had walked through a couple years ago and just some little things here and there. But the Green Building Solutions engineers said that he claimed that he was being very conservative, that we were losing over $5,000 a year in energy costs from all these little things that don't really, that don't really stand out. So it was an eye opener, and $5,000 is something that one cares about. Anyways, that's all. Thanks for your comment, Christine.
Thanks, John. That's interesting and helpful. Okay, I think that's it. And we're really looking forward to seeing everyone next weekend, not this weekend, for the Climate Carnival. And we'll be hearing more from Jolene and Don, as they said, about volunteer opportunities, specific timing, and keep planting what you're planting, keep doing all these projects. They're all adding up. They're big impact. This is a group of action. Everyone here is just doing all sorts of great work in their communities. And I love how active this broader community is. And it's really inspiring. So thanks for all that. Was there anything else here? No. Okay. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.